Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss any update from Rouse IAS Study Circle. Join the only official Telegram channel of Rouse IAS Study Circle to get the relevant materials and important updates.
Hello and welcome to the Daily News Simplified. The what, why, and how of the newspaper analysis from a civil service examinations perspective. So today we are going to discuss the Hindu Delhi edition dated 21st July 2022. The topics which are to be discussed have been displayed on your screen and the timestamping of the same has been provided in the description box below. So before starting our today's session, let us have a look on the question for weekly answer writing practice sessions. The question is from the Constitution and Polity section. The question asks you, what do you understand by citizenship? Identify the legal and constitutional provisions with respect to Indian citizenship. You have to answer this question within a word limit of 250 words. So I request you to submit your answers on the eLearn platform and get it evaluated by our experienced evaluators. So starting with our very first article, which has been headed as Saving Mothers. This topic has appeared at page number 6 in today's The Hindu Daily edition, and it talks about the maternal mortality rate in India. This topic has come in the context that recently a study was published by a journal and it has cast a shadow over the progress of the healthcare targeting the women in India. Now, this topic is very important as far as the civil service examination is concerned because the General Studies Paper 2 syllabus directly mentions the component of social justice into it, which further has two important microsections. First is that the welfare schemes for the vulnerable sections, and we know that women come under the vulnerable sections of a society. So this section talks about the welfare schemes which has been run by the government and the performance of those schemes as well. Similarly, the second micro component is in relation to the issues related to the social sector, for example, health. In this very line, we are going to discuss the concept of the maternal mortality rate. Then we will look at the present stats as far as the India is concerned. We will also look at various government schemes which have taken place. And in the end, we will come up with some way forward for this. So the maternal mortality rate is defined as the number of the maternal deaths divided by total number of live births. That means, for example, let's say that total number of live births in India has taken place to the tune of 10 lakh in 1 year. And on the other hand, the number of maternal deaths which has taken here is, let's say, 100. Now this figure is to be multiplied by 1 lakh and hence we get 10 as the maternal mortality rate. So that is how MMR are calculated at the national level, that is the average MMR for entire India, and then it is also calculated at the state levels. So the data suggests that there is a huge spatial disparity in terms of interstate disparity as well as inter-regional disparity. Now this map shows you this distribution, this variation across India. Now as far as the states like Rajasthan, MP, UP, Bihar, Chhattisgarh and Odisha are concerned, they have a very high mortality rate that is above 130. Then comes the state of Punjab, Uttarakhand as well as West Bengal, where there is a high level of maternal mortality that is between 100 to 130. These states were having greater than 130. Then it comes to the low mortality rate regions that is between 70 to 100. For example, the state of Karnataka lies in 71 to 100 range. And rest states, for example, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, all these states, that is basically the southern region, have MMR less than 70. Now here one important thing is that according to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the goal of the MMR, the target for the MMR is less than 70, which is to be achieved by year 2030. So that means that
few of our states have already achieved this target. Now, moreover, as far as the average MMR is concerned, it is around 103, which has reduced from 113 in 2016 to 18 period. That is, MMR of 113 was in 2016 to 18 period, and the corresponding MMR for 2017 to 2019 period is 103. Though this reduction is commendable and it shows that government policies have played positive role, however, it is to be understood that this overall, that is the average reduction in MMR, is because of the higher performances of these states. And here only it should also be considered that despite the fact that UP and Bihar are constituting one of the highest MMR across India, but the maximum decrease as per the latest survey bulletin reports are also attributed to the states of UP and Bihar. That means that these states are also doing well and are on the right path to achieve the targets of the MMR. Now, here again, one important discussion should lead us to the steps which are being taken by the government, that how it has been possible for India to cope up with the threats of high MMR. What are those specific policy interventions which are taken by the central governments in order to tackle this issue? So, under this, the most important and the comprehensive program which played its role is the National Health Mission. And as we all know, that National Health Mission was having two components in it, that is the urban component as well as the rural component. Now, under this mission, there were several schemes which were launched. For example, Janani Suraksha Yojana. Now, this scheme was specifically related to the conditional cash transfers, and these cash transfers were aimed to motivate the pregnant women for institutional deliveries. Further, this mission also allowed ANMs, that is the auxiliary nurse midwives, to administer antibodies and to take various precautionary measures in order to have a safe and healthy delivery. Next in this line, we had Janani Shishu Suraksha Karyakram, and this was aimed at promoting the free delivery in all the public health institutions, including the C-section services. Then we had Pradhan Mantri Surakshit Matritva Abhiyan, whereby all the pregnant women can walk into the private establishments as well. And we also came up with the Lakshya program. This Lakshya program was aimed at strengthening the labor room quality services, and that is why the full form of this Lakshya program was the Labor Room Quality Improvement Initiative. Further, under this mission, the government is also supplying several iron and folic acid supplements which are given across life stages, including the pregnant, lactating women as well as adolescent girls. So that is why, because of all these steps which are taken by the central government, we are moving into the right direction towards controlling and reducing our maternal mortality rates. But despite, as we have discussed, that there are certain regions, for example, this particular region, which is experiencing a very high maternal mortality rate. And for such regions, we must design certain strategies which are dedicated and efficient in order to curb this menace. So this article talks about a raft approach. Now, what is this raft approach? It is basically built on four components. First is review of the medical records. Second is the access to quality healthcare services, especially for women. The third component is funding, and this funding is specially required to create the necessary infrastructure in this particular sector. And the fourth component is training of all the personnel, that is the doctors, nurses, as well as lab technicians, etc. So that is how this raft approach tackles all the important stages during the delivery services of a woman because it is based on reviewing of the existing medical records, access to quality healthcare services, then comes funding of the required infrastructure and training of all the personnel in this very area. And the states of this particular region must can also learn from the southern states, especially Kerala. Now, the case study of Kerala is very important as far as the reduction of MMR is concerned. Now, Kerala has consistently worked on this raft approach, and that is how it has reduced its MMR below the 70 mark. And hence, the states can learn some good initiatives from Kerala. Moving on with our next topic. This topic is from the wildlife conservation section, and this topic is mainly relevant from the GS3 perspective as well as mainly from the prelims examinations point of view. This topic is in relation to the African cheetahs which are to be translocated from Africa towards India in the Kuno National Park. So, in this regard, we will discuss all the important dimensions associated with this aspect. If you go to the historical expanse of the cheetah population in India, this map shows it. Now, as you can see here, that cheetah population was present across India and present day Pakistan, and it was a widespread population. And it covered almost all the parts, the western part of India, the northern part, the central part, as well as the south of India. And if you closely look at the period, the years in which this data is collected, it is just during the colonial period, that is the British period. So it is not like that we are talking about many centuries ago. No, we are just talking about the period around 100 or 200 years ago. So this means that cheetah population was spread across India and Pakistan at that point of time. Similarly, if you go by the historical aerial expanse of cheetah population across the globe, you can see that this particular color shows the expanse of cheetah as the historical range. And these black patches showcase the present distribution of cheetah population. Now, as far as this Asian continent is concerned, there is just one black patch, which means that in Asia, the cheetah population has got extinct except the parts of central Iran. That is why, as far as the IUCN Red List is concerned, that is the global status of the threatened degree of cheetah, the population lies in the vulnerable category group. That means the cheetahs, according to IUCN Red List, are vulnerable. And this population lies in the Appendix 1 of the CITES. But as far as the India is concerned, the cheetah population has got extinct. So cheetahs have vanished from approximately 90% of their historical range in Africa and are extinct in Asia except for a single isolated population of perhaps 50 individuals in central Iran. This is very important. Similarly, 79% of all the cheetah populations contain 100 or fewer individuals. Now, this is talking about the one population group within a specific area. For example, if we talk about the population of cheetahs in this part, that is the central Iran part, the data suggests that there are just around 40 number of cheetahs present in this entire area. That means in entire Asia, we have just 40 cheetahs and 10 to 12 number of adult cheetahs only in this particular group. So that is why it is said that around 80% of all the cheetah population present in different patches, in all those groups we have fewer than 100 individuals. So till now we have discussed the factual information, now we will come to the analytical part. First of all, it is important that you should know that cheetahs thrive in diverse habitats ranging from the scrub forests to the savanna and dry grasslands to the arid as well as semi-arid open habitats. Now, one thing is very important, as we know that cheetahs are one of the fastest moving animals. This means that the natural habitat where cheetahs can live should not be a dense forest. Rather, it should have ample amount of open spaces which can provide the cheetahs to have opportunity to run fast. Clear? That is why cheetahs are mainly found in the scrub forests. These are not dense forests. The grasslands, which provide a huge vast aerial expanse where cheetahs can run to their maximum speed. But the point is that despite knowing the fact that cheetahs can thrive in the diverse habitats, and also the fact that cheetahs were actually present in diverse locations across the Indian mainland, why the cheetahs got extinct? So these are the four primary reasons behind the extinction of cheetahs. The first is that what happened was that way back cheetahs were used to hunt black buck, and that is why many kings and rajas took the cheetahs from the wild to their palaces in order to use those cheetahs to hunt black buck. So, in this sense, the cheetahs lost their natural habitat. The second important thing was the British policies of deforestation, construction of railways, etc. Moreover, the British also announced bounty for killing the cheetahs. So, in order to have these rewards and awards from the British government, many people were involved into killing and illegal hunting of these cheetahs. The third important thing was that because of these two things, there was a reduced genetic diversity and very high infant mortality rate among the cheetah population. Further, it is also witnessed that the hobbies and interests of the Rajas and kings, especially in the medieval era, was such that they were not the wildlife conservationists. They used to hunt the animals. For example, it is believed that the king Akbar had around thousands of cheetahs in his palace, which was used by him for his personal interests. So the thing is that at that point of time we were not aware about the wildlife conservation principles and importance. So that is why we were involved in hunting and illegal poaching of cheetah population, which ultimately led to the extinction of this species across Asia. And that is why, in order to reintroduce cheetahs in India, the government of India is planning for a reintroduction project whereby the African cheetahs will be brought from Africa and will be translocated in India. But despite this, several environmentalists have said that there are multiple issues which are involved in this reintroduction project, and that is why now we will look at what are those issues involved. The first and the foremost issue is that the cheetah reintroduction project is coming in direct clash with the lion conservation project. So the natural habitat is same for cheetah as well as lion. For example, if we talk about the Kuno National Park, where it is believed that cheetahs will be reintroduced. Now, in the same national park, we are also planning to introduce the lions from Gir forest, that is in Gujarat, because we have only one particular area of Asiatic lions, that is Gir National Park. So we think that restricting the animal species into one particular area can be very dangerous. For example, let's say that if there is a huge deforestation, or there might be a spread of deadly disease, or there can be a forest fire in this Gir National Park. So we must have some other areas also, so that our Asiatic lions are not dead in one go. That is why we are translocating the Asiatic lions from the Gir to the Kuno National Park. So now the experts question this, that Kuno National Park will be having lions, will also be having cheetahs, and these are the tertiary predators having almost same prey species. So in a way they will compete among themselves. They will kill themselves. So that is why this goes against the principle of biodiversity conservation. The second important thing is that cheetahs need extensive areas, as we have already discussed, that because they run very fast, so that is why they require extensive areas. And the natural habitats of African cheetahs are slightly different from the Asian cheetahs. The habitats which India has is different in some degree as compared to the African habitats. So experts again say that it might not be sustainable up to a very long period. The third important thing is that India has huge number of animal wildlife conflict cases on daily basis. Even if we introduce cheetahs into our national parks, what is the guarantee that there will not be human wildlife conflict? What is the guarantee that there might not be illegal trafficking and poaching in those areas? Because we know the present situation is that we are not able to done away completely with this illegal poaching. Next important thing is the natural ecosystems. As we have discussed that the natural ecosystems of Africa versus Asia is entirely different. Similarly, Namibia versus India is entirely different. So the point is that even if you reintroduce one particular species of population from one area to other area, is it guaranteed that all the natural climatic environmental conditions of these two areas are same? Experts say that no, it cannot be exactly same. Further, the experts have also questioned the basic objective of this reintroduction project. Several experts have said that this reintroduction program is not aimed at conserving the biodiversity, rather, they are aimed at boosting the tourism potential. Because if we have lions, if we have cheetahs, we can invest in lion safaris, cheetah safaris, and all that thing. So, in the name of adventure tourism, what we are doing is that we are playing with the natural ecosystems. So these are the issues which are involved, which have been raised by multiple experts for the cheetah reintroduction action plan. Moving ahead with our next topic. This topic is in relation to the CAPF, which stands for Central Armed Police Forces. This topic has appeared at page number 7 in today's The Hindu Daily edition, and this topic briefly talks about few challenges which are related to the Central Armed Police Forces. As far as the syllabus is concerned, this topic finds its relevance in the security section because it mentions various security forces and agencies and their mandate. So that is why, in line with this syllabus, in today's session we will discuss that what CAPFs are exactly and what are the various challenges which they face. Before coming to this, first of all, let us look at this basic comparative analysis between three security agencies or these three security components of India. One is the military, second is the paramilitary, and third is the CAPF. Now, in many newspapers, in many articles, generally it happens that all the agencies, for example, BSF, CISF, CRPF, etc., they are termed as paramilitary agencies. However, this is incorrect because these agencies form the component of the Central Armed Police Forces. Hence, it is to be understood that these are the police forces and not the military or the paramilitary forces. So now the question arises that what are the basic differences between all these three things? First, in military, as we all know, that we have army, air force and navy. Paramilitary forces in India are just three in number, that is Indian Coast Guard, Assam Rifles and Special Frontier Force. Now, before 2011, all these forces, in addition to the ICG, Assam Rifles, and SSF, all these were known as the paramilitary forces. However, later on, this division took place. Now, what is the basic difference between these three forces? Army, Air Force, Navy, that is military, comes under the direct command of Ministry of Defense. On the other hand, Central Armed Police Forces comes under the direct command of Ministry of Home Affairs. When it comes to the paramilitary forces, the line of command varies. For example, for example, Indian Coast Guard comes under the control of Defense Ministry. Assam Rifles comes under the control of Home Ministry, and Special Frontier Force comes under the control of intelligence agencies. Similarly, military organization, that is Army, Air Force, Navy, is headed by a military officer, and the CAPF organization is headed by IPS officer. But again, when it comes to the paramilitary forces, it varies. For example, ICG is headed by Navy officer. Similarly, Assam Rifles, though it comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs, but is headed by Army officer. Okay, so these things should be very clear to you. I am again repeating it that there are just three paramilitary forces in India, that is Indian Coast Guard, Assam Rifles, and Special Frontier Force. All the other forces, which we generally call them as paramilitary, they are police forces, that is Central Armed Police Force, and they come under Ministry of Home Affairs. Our Central Armed Police Forces are facing several challenges which have resulted in their high attrition rates. The first is that they are overburdened. they are facing very high workload, and this high workload unnecessarily creates high pressure and frustration among the soldiers of these agencies. They have to work around 16 to 18 hours per day, and they generally work in the most inaccessible areas which are having rugged and difficult terrain. And hence, on one hand, they face very extreme working conditions, and on the other hand, they also have a high burden of workload. Next comes that there is a lack of rewards and delayed compensation. When we compare these agencies with Army, Air Force, or Navy, we witness that the rewarding principles, the rewarding policies of these agencies are not at par with these agencies, despite the fact that they have similar nature of work. Yes, the core area of the Army, Air Force, and Navy is to guard our borders from the foreign countries. But again, these agencies are also involved in one of the most difficult and tedious tasks. And moreover, when it comes to BSF, BSF is the first line of the guarding agency at our international borders. They are the first line of response. The next issue is of the friction between the IPS officers and the direct recruits of CAPF. As discussed, that CAPF is headed by an IPS officer, and many a times it happens that the IPS officers on deputations lead these agencies. On the other hand, the CAPF direct recruits, they have better understanding of these agencies, their operational tactics, but then they are not elevated to the highest rank to head these forces, and that is why there is a continuous friction which eventually leads to inefficient coordination, and it negatively hampers the efficiency. The next major issue is the infrastructural deficiencies. For example, these agencies have lack of arms and ammunitions. They do not have adequate technical facilities, drone facilities, remote sensing facilities, etc. And this in turn negatively impacts their operations. In this very line, they also have lack of medical facilities, and further they have poor personnel management. They do not have adequate promotional opportunities as well. And all this leads to dissatisfaction among the personnel of these agencies. So I hope that the basic difference between military, paramilitary and CAPF forces are clear to you, and all the challenges which our CAPF face are also clear to you. Now this particular topic has appeared at page number 6, and this topic is in relation to the India-Vietnam relations. And as we know that as far as the UPSC scheme of syllabus is concerned, this topic is mainly relevant from the GS2 mains paper, as it mentions international relations as one of its important components. The latest context in which this article has appeared is that India and Vietnam are celebrating their 50th anniversary of their diplomatic relations. So that is why this topic becomes very significant for the upcoming mains examination. And in this very line, we will analyze the potential of the India-Vietnam relationships, its economic, its strategic dimensions, as well as the recent agreements which India and Vietnam has signed. So now let us move towards our detailed discussion. Now, as far as the economics and trade relationship between India and Vietnam is concerned, the bilateral trade in the year 2020 to 2021 was standing at US dollars 11.12 billion. But India has a trade deficit with Vietnam as well. And this trade deficit for the financial year 2020 to 2021 was to the tune of dollars 1.12 billion. As far as the investment scenario is concerned, India's investment in Vietnam is to the tune of around $2 billion. And on the other hand, the Vietnamese investment in India is far below, that is $28.55 million. As far as the strategic relations are concerned, as we know, because of the strategic location of Vietnam in the South China Sea, it becomes very important for India to have its control in that particular region. Further, as we also know that India is coming up with a dedicated Indo-Pacific strategy and India's increased presence in this particular region, Vietnam automatically becomes significant partner for India's foreign relationship as well. Further, several Indian policies, for example, the Act East policy, is also in line with the India's bilateral and regional relationships in Southeast Asia and Far East countries. Similarly, the Vietnam also have high energy potential. Vietnam has oil as well as gas reserves on its continental shelves, and we can import oil and gas from that particular area to enhance our energy security. Further, as we all know that China is one of the rising and dominant power in not that particular region only, but across the world, and India and Vietnam has this common factor in between them. Both of them view China as their main competitor, and India as well as Vietnam, both of them also have certain territorial disputes with China. As far as the other regional groupings are concerned, be it Indian Ocean Rim Association, BIMSTEC, Mekong Ganga Cooperation, or ASEAN Defense Ministerials Meeting Plus initiative, India and Vietnam shares common platform in all the major regional groupings of this particular area. And in line with this, in order to enhance their bilateral cooperation, they have recently signed several agreements. For example, just in 2022 June, both countries have signed the Joint Vision for Defense Cooperation and the Memorandum of Understanding on Mutual Logistics Support. This basically will help both the countries to increase their presence in the Indo Pacific region. And mind you, the Indo Pacific region encompasses in itself the Indian Ocean as well as the Western Pacific Ocean. Further, $100 million defense line of credit has been implemented, and India has also announced early finalization of another defense line of credit to enhance Vietnam's defense capability. Further, India is also providing a comprehensive underwater combat operation training to the Vietnamese soldiers. And Vietnam is also exploring the possibility of acquiring Indian manufactured surveillance equipments such as unmanned aerial vehicles. So these are the broader areas in terms of economy, trade, strategic relations, regional geopolitical groupings, as well as the recent strategic agreements which have been signed between India and Vietnam. Now, because both the countries are celebrating their 50th anniversary of their diplomatic relationships, now it is up to both these countries that where they are going to take their relationship and how the true potential of this relationship is going to be reaped, especially in the context of Indo-Pacific region. So now is the time for the question of the day. The question from yesterday's DNS dated 20 July 2022 is in front of you. The question had two statements and you have to find the correct statement out of the given two statements. The statement 1 said, all the minerals in India and their mining is determined by the central government. The statement 2 said, only the coal and iron ore are subject to illegal mining. Because both the statements are incorrect and hence D, neither 1 nor 2 is the correct answer. The question from today's DNS dated 21st July 2022 is, which of the following are the paramilitary forces of India? 1. ITBP, 2. Assam Rifles, and 3. Indian Coast Guard. The options are A. 1, 2 and 3, B. 2 and 3, C. 2 only, or D. 3 only. So that's all for today. All the very best and study hard.